My favorite one is going to be Noah Brown. I'm stretching our limit here of 40% up to 50 because he's 49% owned in leagues. He played tied in snaps with Nico Collins this past game, 81% of the snaps amongst the receivers. Yes, he was 0 for 2 in that game, but he just coming back off the knee injury. I think they were using him well. They had other opportunities. They were moving the ball on the ground a little bit decently against the Broncos, and Nico Collins obviously had an amazing game here. But I think let's not forget Noah Brown had a game of 7 receptions for 172, a game of 6 receptions for 153 and a touchdown. And we know what Tank Dell was for that offense. And Noah Brown fits the bill to come in and take over that role. I don't love Robert Woods, but he's another option here as well because Robert Woods did have 2 receptions for 44 yards. But I just think that Noah Brown is your bigger playmaker. You have more bang for your buck in a receiver like him.
Let's flush this out a little bit because this is, I think, is a really big topic. I think Tank Dell was probably the biggest loss from a wide receiver position for an offense in this past week. So how does this team go about replacing that production? We saw this last game without Schultz that all that production went to Nico Collins, right? He just blew up, and they were targeting him often in that game. Mechie got a couple routes run, a couple catches, but they kind of start spreading it out a little bit more. With CJ Stroud and the way this passing offense is, this is, I think, a decision that if one of these guys is available, obviously I don't think Nico Collins is available in any of your leagues. He's probably in the 80s in terms of percentage owned. But Noah Brown is a guy that 49% owned. He's probably available in your league. If he is, go and pick him up. He's already had production in this offense. And with Tank Dell gone, he runs a lot of the similar routes, the deep crossing routes, the deep down the field routes that CJ Stroud likes to throw. They're not going to change this offense up now that Tank Dell's not there. So I do think that a lot of the short yardage peppering is going to go to Schultz. So he's a tight end you should definitely have your eye on if he's available in your league. Go and pick him up because I think his production's about to shoot through the roof.
Yeah.
But I would agree with you. I think Robert Woods is another good option. I think that we don't know. We talked about it in the beginning of the season. He was kind of going to be the odd man out in this offense.
Yep.
And with Tank Dell stepping in, he's remained being that odd man out. But there's enough production to go around, I think. Especially if teams start to key on Nico Collins and try to take him out of the game, then they're going to have to go to someone else. And whether that's Noah Brown or Robert Woods, who's lower owned than Noah Brown, go and get one of these guys. I would take someone in this offense versus Green Bay, let's just say.
Yeah. I agree. I would take somebody in this offense, the way they're passing the ball. I mean, don't get me wrong. Jordan Love is great, but the fact that Jaden Reed and Romeo Doubs, they're both 63 and 60% owned respectively. I think the option of being a number 2 wide receiver for this team, maybe not the number 2 option because you said Schultz, but the number 2 receiver here is worth it in Noah Brown. Like I said, he matched in the snap percentage with Nico Collins this game. You had 47% snap percentage for Robert Woods, and you had a high 30s for Mechie, because I think Mechie ended up being an afterthought as soon as Tank Dell was gone, which is something to keep an eye on. Do they want to go with the youth over Robert Woods or go with the veteran in the receiver there? And we don't know that yet. So it's tough to say. Robert Woods, 14% owned, Mechie, 3% owned. Who do you take a shot on if they're all taken in your league? Is it worth it?
If it were me, I would take Robert Woods over Mechie.
Me too.
And it's not anything against Mechie, but Woods, even when Tank Dell was healthy and Noah Brown was healthy, Woods was still out there. Like, Woods was still running routes. He wasn't getting the targets, but Mechie was the odd man out looking in completely on that wide receiver core. So I don't think he all of a sudden jumps Woods, and their ownership is very similar. If I'm having to take a chance and just trying to replace Tank Dell or get another guy just to stash for the playoff run, it'll be Robert Woods and not Mechie.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Mechie's the last guy on this list. But Noah Brown, the fact that the snap percentage was equivalent to the receiving leader, obviously he had no receptions in that game. He peppered Nico Collins. But I don't think that's going to be the case moving forward, because you look at the games, even when Tank Dell was playing, Noah Brown was still getting receptions on the lower end of than what he was in those bigger games. So look for Noah Brown, 49% owned. He's my favorite of the week here. And then obviously Robert Woods as a tier down. And if you're in a really deep league, then I again, Mechie is still, I'd rather take this